Hello, golfers. Jess Frank coming to you with a special edition of Backyard Golf Lessons on this supposed to be Masters Sunday. Have a really special guest today, a gentleman who I've been following for a while and does awesome work with junior golfers, adult golfers, just an all-around pretty cool guy. I've never gotten to speak to him before. James Hong is a PGA teaching professional, and I'm going to see if I can bring James in now. Let's see. And so Instagram's given us a great opportunity to do these conversations. So I just wanted to waiting for James Hong Golf connecting. James.
There we go.
Hey, man.
What's going on?
Well, happy Easter, first of all.
Same to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
What's funny, I didn't realize till yesterday that today's Easter.
I
I had
know.
no clue.
We were chatting. We're like, man, we don't even know what day it is. It's like it's Groundhog Day.
So how are things going over there?
Yeah, well, we're shut down. I mean, South Florida, for whatever reason, I guess because we have a lot more cases down here, they have closed all the golf courses, Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. And they just put out an order actually for the rest of Florida that said only the
Right.
residents are going to Naples and Martin County and Orlando, and they're all trying to play golf up there, but
Right.
it's yeah, so it's just pretty crazy time. So it is what it is, and you guys are shut down too, right?
Yeah, we had an
Yeah.
official shutdown. All like basically they said golf courses are not considered essential
Yeah.
businesses. So as of I think it was Friday or Saturday, basically you couldn't even play. So even private clubs couldn't send their members out.
Right.
You can walk around like it's like you're walking in the park,
Okay.
but
No
I'll
golf.
walk around with my 7 iron. Oh, look, I just happen to have a ball.
I know. It's pretty crazy. I tell my wife, I'm like, I'm driving past Target and there's 1,000 cars in the parking lot. I'm like, what? I
Yeah.
go, how does this make any sense? But
Well,
it
it's
is
funny
what it
because
is.
the other, like my course has been shut down since the 13th, since March 13th.
Yeah.
So this is a good month now for us. I went into my office the other day and there's like a good 100 people walking around the golf course. They're not golfing. They're just walking
Right.
around because it's a park.
Yeah. Sure.
And there's like 6 or 7 people sitting on the range, on the benches, just talking to each other. So,
I know.
okay.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, I guess maybe because of the workers taking money, and I don't know. I mean, I just don't. None of this makes a lot of sense, unfortunately. But everybody's got to be safe, and New York has just been really hit hard with this whole thing. So,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
yeah. Do you have any friends or family that contracted the COVID, or are you guys all
No, I mean,
safe?
we had a little bit of a scare a couple of weeks ago because my wife was still working at the time,
Okay.
and she came home and she basically had already said today's my last day, and she said that yeah, even now I'm not feeling too well. She had a couple of symptoms, but
Yeah.
that was gone in about 48 hours. So when it goes
Okay.
away that quickly, you know that you don't have it. But yeah, there was about 2 days that we were kind of like, all right.
Oh, geez.
And
Oh no.
myself and the boys, we were already shut down. We were already shuttered in the house. So
Right.
it was one of those, all right, so if we've got to spend 2 weeks without it, no problem.
Yeah, yeah, it's just exactly. That's the way I feel. If we're gonna do it, just close it all down, let us shut down for 30 days, get past it, and then get back to what we want to do. So,
It's the tough part for some of the people like myself who did it, who started this back mid-March. It's
hmm
we're going on to a full month now, but now people are just starting up now.
right.
So they're going into their first month or whatever, which means that I have to be going into my second month so that everything evens up. So
Yeah,
I was telling a friend of mine yesterday that it would have, what, imagine if like we all just started at the same time and just bit the bullet and started March 15th or whatever.
right.
Today we'd be all outside like you and just walking around and going like, yeah, I'm glad we're kind of like on the back side of this now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all I'm doing is I'm just in my backyard. There's nobody else around. I've been doing like backyard golf lessons on Facebook Live and trying to, just trying to bring some, fun or some, some value to some people out there in Facebook land and, and Instagram, work on my YouTube, all that stuff. So yeah, there's nobody around. In fact, I live on a golf course that was closed about 7-8 years ago. So we have like an open field in the back, and if I wanted to go hit balls out there, I probably could, but I'm like, just taking care of the family right now. So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, but you're doing some awesome stuff, man. Hey, let me first say, but I really appreciate, and this is the first time we kind of talk face to face, but in a way,
Yeah.
but I really appreciate, anytime I ever reached out to you, you were always, just really, really giving, and, you're always answering my questions, and, it's something that I love learning. I love seeing, someone like yourself who's, a great guy and just a neat, great teacher, and, has fun
Right.
with it and all that stuff. So, I just want to tell you thank you for all the times that you've answered my questions and responded through Facebook and social media. And we'll definitely get to meet one day for sure. So,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
thank you very much. I appreciate
yeah,
it. Yeah. It's one of those things. I always tell people that ask me questions, say, yeah, don't be shy. Like if you're sitting there and you're going like, oh, I'm wondering if I'm bothering him or something. No, not at all. It's like,
yeah,
if people have questions, they're more than welcome to just send me a message, whether, like you said, on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, just
right.
asking questions. I'm more than happy to help out.
Yeah, man. And
It's kind of like pay it
you're,
forward.
yeah,
There were so many guys that did it for me, so and now they're turning out to be good friends of mine. So
right.
it's only right that I'd be doing this. I love doing it too.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And I see, I feel the same way. I've had, tons of golf pros help me throughout my career. And it's a special thing, I think, for our industry, that, we kind of look at it as one big family. I mean, everybody's, trying to build their own brand and do that. But it seems to me whenever, anytime I've ever reached out to these guys, if I want to go watch them teach, or, if they
Right.
need to send me a video, or, it's a great community, and I'm, grateful to be a part of it.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
remember like the best experience I had. One of the best experiences was, this is probably going back maybe 10 years even,
Hmm.
that I saw something about Butch Harmon. I can't remember what it was. And so I just sent an email, like a
Yeah.
fan email. Hey, really appreciate everything you've done, and you've been such an inspiration. Da 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 da. And I just hit
Right.
send, and just forgot. I was like, yeah, whatever. He's never gonna
Yeah.
read it. And then maybe like 15 minutes later, I got a message,
Oh my
email
God.
message, a return, and it was from his secretary, his assistant.
Hmm.
Hey, Butch read your email. I showed him your email. Love to have you. I'm like, oh my God. It's like, what? And yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime you're in the area, just let us know, and we'd love to
Yeah.
have you come and visit for a couple of days. Blah, blah, blah. And it was like, oh my God. And I went. I took advantage of it,
Hmm.
and it was like amazing. He sat down with me. Like
Wow.
he pulled up. He was by his computer doing V1 stuff, and he goes like, hey, you see this? What do you think about this?
Oh wow. Yeah. Yeah. That's so
And
cool.
yeah, and then he was working with a couple of players, and he'd turn to me and say, "You got any questions? What do you like that?" So I was like, "Oh my
Hmm.
God!"
Yeah, yeah. I'm lucky to have his brother Craig Harmon down the street from me. So
Yeah,
I've seen him. I've taken lessons from him, watched him teach, and they're there. Yeah, same way. He's just like, anytime you need anything, give me a call. And you
yeah,
come to watch me teach anytime, and any questions you have, and that's a great. They're pretty awesome. That's that. And I've heard that about Butch before too, with a bunch of pros who want to go watch him teach. He's like, yeah, of course, come on over. So they actually, I
yeah.
don't
He
know if
was.
you, go ahead.
Oh yeah, he was. It was like funny.
Yeah.
he asked me something, and I answered, and then I asked him a question, and then the words that came out of his mouth were, "Well, guys like us." Right? He goes like, "Guys like us." And as soon as he said that, I didn't hear another word. I was like, yeah, me and Butch, guys like us.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, 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 yeah. I had the same because I got, Martin Hall's up the street is from me as well, at Ibis, and that's where
Right.
I really I kind of started, with him as my, kind of my first mentor, and I would go up and watch him teach, and he would give me ideas and things about the golf lessons, and before that, I actually met a guy that taught for Hank Haney, and Hank and Paul Barnsley was his name, and he was Hank's head guy in Dallas, and and Paul, when I was going through the GPTP, and Paul was like, yeah, if you really want to know how to teach, go watch Hank Haney and Jim Hardy,
Right.
and you know, watch all their tapes from all the PGA teaching, you know,
Right,
yeah. And so it's like, and so I'm like, oh, okay. So, you know, and I did that, and it was pretty cool. And then so I went to Martin Hall, and I said, I was like, you know, this is before gray hair. Like I was like 25, 25 years old, and I go see him, and he's like, I'm watching him teach, and there's this kid who's, you know, he's swinging and hitting these hooks, and all. And he goes, Martin's like, well, what do you think about this? And I'm like, well, he's across the line and shut. He's like, how did you know that? You know, so I was like, yeah, something like that always stuck in my mind. I'm like, well, maybe I can do this. I know, we'll see. So it was fun.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's, you know, but you know, it's still, you know, people like, you know, like them who've, you know, kind of paved the way for guys like us to get out there and make a few bucks and help people, and, you know, become just teaching professionals instead of working in the shop and folding shirts. So.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But you know, you're doing some awesome stuff, man. I know we have to be creative this time, and you
Right.
put out a little, you put out an email about, or a Facebook post about people sending you golf lessons and doing swing analysis for them on Swing Catalyst. And why don't you just talk a little bit about that, and so that can.
Yeah, I mean, so like people that follow me on social media like Instagram or Facebook, a lot of the stuff that you see me putting out these days, like you were saying, you're asking me questions. It's
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to put out some stuff to help other pros that are trying to figure out what to do.
Right.
So when you see me posting something like, "Hey, I did a class, I did a group lesson on Zoom," it's more to show people, "Hey, hey, I could do the same thing." Like everything that I'm doing is not like me spending $50,000 on equipment. This is all me putting up my iPad on a tripod and going into my backyard and saying, "Hey, God," that kind of stuff. So hopefully it helps people. But in terms of what you were just asking about, it's just something that I was thinking is just going to give me more experience with trying to figure this whole thing out. And so I offered last week on Thursday from 12 to 3 p.m., send me your swing video and tell me what your shot shape normally is and what it is that you're struggling with. And I'll take a look at your swing video and I'll send you an analysis back. So I've been using V1 as well as Swing Catalyst, sending them a video back of I'm noticing, and here's some drills that you can do. And I did it for adults on Friday, juniors on Thursday, and it was good. I got some nice feedback from it. I mean, I think the best thing was it made me realize that I'm on the right path, that I was doing some good things, and just kind of like getting more comfortable with this whole situation that we're in now. And what I also will help us with is that if hopefully when we're on the other side of this, that we've kind of set the foundation for another service that we could provide to our students, our customer base.
Yeah. Were you doing these type of online lessons before the shutdown, or was it just kind of this?
I was doing a little bit, just kind of like dabbling in it, literally putting my toe in the water to see what it's like. So I had a couple of people that would send me a video on occasion from either like the Dominican Republic or from Asia, but it was like maybe 3-4 people. And so I had a little bit of it. So I just tried. All I'm trying to do is just throw things up against the wall, see what sticks.
Yeah. Now that's, I mean, you know, ultimately when it comes down to it, we're all in business, and so that's kind of what you have to do. You know, and that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. You know,
it's good for us is it keeps me in touch with my students, especially the juniors. And so when we do the group things, that it basically is just continuing their practices and letting them feel that they're a part of something, that they're not isolated. I'm sure they're going stir crazy and stuff like that. So
yeah. I mean, the parents need them to do something. You know, I'm sure they're not going to school the whole day. Obviously, some of them are doing the virtual, but no, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I saw you post that as well, and you know, I think that's pretty awesome. And I'm actually going to start doing that this week with some students. And you know, I've just been staying in touch with them. You know, I teach a few juniors as well, and I just, you know, just reaching out to them and saying hello and seeing if they could do anything.
Right.
you know, I just think sometimes just doing that, just seeing how they're doing is built, you know, and having a relationship, which I know you're awesome at, you know, you've built these relationships with these juniors and have helped them so much. And I think that's crucial. So, well, you tell everybody a little bit about, you know, how you got into the game and, you know, what spurred you to become a golf pro and teaching pro, things like that.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like years ago. Where did I start? Yeah, I mean, there's a driving range near my house.
Mm-hmm.
I would go there on a regularly just to hit some balls and stuff. I mean, I remember being a kid going over there, and then as an adult, the guy who was in charge of the teaching staff at the time, he and I were basically the same age, and I met him. And you know, it's one of those things where you meet somebody and 5 minutes later you're best friends.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, you know, next thing you know, we're hanging out and everything, and he knew that I did some stuff like regripping clubs and whatnot at the time. So he says, hey, you know, why don't you want to work here? Like on Saturdays, you come in, you regrip some clubs, make, you know, $20 or something like that. And plus, if you're an employee, you get to hit balls for free. Oh, okay, no problem.
Oh, bonus.
So I started doing that. And then, and like I said, it's like about half a mile away from my house at most. So what would happen is every now and then I just go there and do some extra stuff. Maybe I'd go there on a Tuesday night and do some extra stuff and whatnot, reshafting a club or two. And it just kept growing and growing. And then all of a sudden one day they just offered me a job and said, hey, you want to work here in the pro shop and stuff like that? Okay, so it was a good part-time job. Next thing you know, they offered me an assistant manager's position. And then what started with the teaching was that we were doing a special where if you bought a set of clubs, you would get a free 15-minute lesson, free 30-minute lesson, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Buy a Callaway driver, you get a free 15-minute lesson. But none of the instructors would give the lesson because they weren't going to get paid for it.
Right.
So that guy, my friend, said, like, well, why don't you just give all the lessons to James? Let him do all those lessons. So that's how it started. I would start doing the 15-minute lessons, whatever. And then they'd give me like a $5, $10 tip, so whatever. And then he would tell me, like, hey, you know, people are actually calling and saying that they want to book lessons with you.
Yeah.
But, you know, you're not one of the teachers, so they can't book any lessons with you. So he started telling me you should think about teaching for seriously. And I had already been coaching other sports. And I was actually already, as people that know me, I was into fencing for a long time. So I had actually coached 2 colleges. I was their head coach.
Okay.
So I had experience in teaching and coaching already in another sport that was taught very similarly to golf. So it was just something that I started rolling into very naturally.
Yeah,
and that's
awesome. Yeah, you know, that's awesome. And, you know, so many, I mean, it's just like so many people in the industry who started that way and who found a passion. It's so cool to hear that. I mean, that's like, you know, that's kind of how, you know, I was the same way. I worked at a couple private country clubs, and that's what I started, just like little junior clinics, and you know, you don't get paid that much, if anything, and just kind of like a service. And then you find you're like, wow, I really like this, and you just start, you know, investigating it further and further. So who were the kind of couple of your mentors, or you know, how you kind of like, you know, shot from doing that
early on?
Yeah.
That guy, his name is Jason Kang. He actually teaches in Shanghai now. He was up in New York for a while, and then he went down to Florida for a bit, then went over to Asia. He was actually in Korea for a few years, and we kind of lost touch. And what was strange about it is just the other day, all of a sudden, he sent me a message out of the blue through Facebook. I lost touch with him through that kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, how's your family?" Just like that. And I was like, whoa. And next thing you know, he like gives me a call and says, yeah, I'm based over here in Shanghai now. And that's why I haven't been able to connect with anybody on social media, because the way they do things over there through social media is different than here. So they have their other ways of getting in touch with people. So we next thing you know, we're chatting for an hour, we're catching up. So he was one. Right. One of the guys another guy at the local range was Dale Spina, local pro. And you know, nowadays, because of social media, we get to see so many other people. Right. I have a lot of people that I consider friends as well as mentors, like John Dunnigan, Jeff Smith over in Indiana. There's 2 Jeff Smiths, so it's Indiana Jeff Smith. he
There you
always
go.
wants to make sure that I say that.
Yeah.
Kirk O'Gurry over here is like a brother to me, and there's just so many people. Rob Holding up in Canada, so
Right.
many good guys that I always look to for advice and help.
Yeah, yeah, but that's what makes our industry special too, is because they're all willing to, they've all been through the same thing, and they all have been helped, and nobody's kind of invented this on their own, and so it's kind of nice that everybody does that and gives
Yeah,
back, and that's why I love it. Anytime I have a question, I can always reach out to guys like you, or just anyone who you look up to in the golf industry, and no matter who you are, I mean, everybody always says they're always learning. They're always learning. They're always trying to find something better that can help their students progress faster, and in technology or whatever, just communication, or if there's something that you can do to fill your toolbox.
yeah,
Um,
definitely. And it's like what you start to do is based on what it is that you're trying to improve on, you
mhm,
start to see people that are really good at it. So for instance, like when I start to think about communicating better, using language better, someone that I look to is Michael Breed.
right.
He's a section pro. He actually Ferry Point's like about a mile and a half, 2 miles from my house. So
Okay.
really close by.
Yeah.
I'm really lucky, and I get to drop names like that. But
Yeah.
um, being a better director of instruction, being a better father, like Jason Sutton in North Carolina, over at Carmel Country Club,
Right.
he really kind of takes care of people under his wing. Like
Hmm.
he's got an awesome staff there. And then some of the guys who are just so smart and being able to take things apart and put it back together. There's guys like Ryan Cheney, who's always asking questions. There's
Hmm.
guys like John Graham, who's always asking questions.
Right.
Even guys like Chris Como, once in a while, I'll send him one question and he'll answer me back, and he'll be like, "Yo,
Yeah.
dude, how are you?" and stuff. And so there's so
Yeah.
many guys. Like you were saying, you could just reach out and start
Yeah.
conversations with people.
Yeah, I know it's pretty cool, and especially now. I mean, during this time is like, yeah, I've never done any of these Instagram live
Yeah,
chats, and I've done a couple of them already, and it's just eye opening, and just really cool to kind of we also don't have a lot of time. I mean, we're with our families, and we're working good 50, 40, 50, 60 hours a week, and so it kind of gives us a chance to take a breath maybe, and
yeah.
reevaluate and reevaluate our business and our personal lives, and kind of see what's really important.
It's. I'll tell you what. This time at home,
Yeah.
it's going to be real hard going back to work.
That's what I told my wife too. I go, my wife's a teacher, and I'm like, she's doing virtual school, and I said that to her. I go, I could just be a stay-at-home dad. I could teach, a few days a week, give golf lessons here and there, and I go, this isn't such a bad life. But yeah, so it's really, really interesting. One of the things that I think I was listening to you. You were on Jason Sutton's podcast,
Right.
and the Golf Guru, is it Golf Guru TV? I think is
Yep.
what it is. Yeah. And so I like Jason as well, and you brought it up before, but you're talking about fencing and how fencing got you, kind of like you kind of similarities between fencing and golf and coaching golf.
Yeah. And we're talking way back,
Right.
30 years, 20
Yeah.
years from ago, is that everything we did was footwork and learning how to use the ground to
Hmm.
create power, to create speed, putting forces into the ground. And so I was lucky in that my coach was, and it was interesting, is like, because like back then it was like, the Eastern Europeans, right, all that stuff, the
Yep.
Berlin Wall and whatnot. Google it, people. It's, so when he was over, he was from Bulgaria, so he would tell me, as well as some of his assistants that were Russian,
Yeah.
would tell me how the East Europeans would train. And so they were really into the sports science side of it. And so how they use the ground, it's really interesting that they would talk about how if you want to move your body in a certain way, you would push your feet against the ground in this manner to get your body to move, to get your hips to move, to generate speed. how to be efficient with the movement so that you don't go up and then forward. You would just go forward, and how you would push into the ground, that kind of stuff. So all of that stuff that I learned through that was, I was doing, not that I'm some sort of groundbreaker in this regard, but I was transferring a lot of that into my golf teaching, especially when I was working with juniors way back 20 years ago or so.
Right. And who you had your coach, your fencing coach? He was he Eastern European too, if I recall?
Yeah, he was.
Or yeah, and he was really influential in what you were doing.
Yeah, he was a funny guy. Like a lot of my teaching styles, basically, I'm just copying him. He was always very sarcastic with his approach, with his talking, and but he always used to joke about how he was very lazy when he was. He actually was, I forgot, somewhere in the mid '80s. He was actually the world champion in individual saber fencing.
Wow.
So I remember being at his house, and he'd pull out the medals, and some of the medals were like literally the size of plates.
Jeez.
And they would just be in a box, and like, hey, you won this for, and and I remember, I think it was the '84 and '88 Olympics. He was one of the gold medal favorites for those two Olympics. So we would talk about stuff like that, and he would tell me about how he would do certain things in terms of his training. And one of the things that now if you think about it, if you go back 20 years and hear this, you're kind of like, whoa, what's this? I've never heard this before. Today, you've probably heard it a million times, where he would actually lay in bed with the lights off. And in his mind, imagine the movements that he would make and how his body, what muscles would fire in order to create that movement.
Yeah.
And today, we see it as like visualization, imagery, and whatnot. So it's like back at the time when he's telling this, we're all kind of like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, right.
Today, we're telling all of our students, right, visualize a shot, what it would feel like. And so, but so like I said, that stuff, he was telling me about it 20, 25, 30 years ago.
Wow. Well, you're not that old, so it couldn't have been that long ago. No, but yeah, interestingly enough, I had similar experience. So I'm from Chicago originally. I'm down here in Florida since '93, but back in '89, my brother and I went to work out with Al Vermeil, the strength and conditioning coach for the Chicago Bulls. And so Al was at the forefront of training, and he would always talk about the Eastern Europeans and how they would train and what they would do. And he took my brother, who was like a very below marginal athlete, to playing semi-pro basketball in the CBA. And without what Al was able to do, and it's funny, I remember this conversation, and I'm like, oh, what a moron. But he was saying, he goes, we should start, this was back in like 92, 93. And he's like, we should start a golf training specific program. And I was like, nah, golf training. Meanwhile, I'm like, watching these guys, John Daly with beer. I'm like, they'll never do golf training in golf. And sure enough, what springs up is TPI, and he's on the board. So it's just, and I still stay in touch with Al a little bit too. He talk about an awesome dude, man. He is. I don't know if you ever had the chance to watch him speak or have a conversation with him, but yeah, he's phenomenal. So, but yeah, same stuff, and a little bit of the ground forces, and really, very interesting. And but
I know, like even years ago, going back that far. A friend of mine, he's one of my closest friends. He was actually the best man at my wedding, Michael Hoxton. I still talk to him actually, he was one of the guys I was talking to yesterday about this.
Okay.
Is that we were years ago when he was learning how to be a physical therapist and a trainer. He would show up and work with the kids that I was working with at the time. And it was interesting. He would show up, and back then everybody thought, oh, exercise is just weightlifting and whatnot.
Right.
And he would show up with these weird things called balance balls, balance pads, elastic bands, Swiss balls, foam rollers, and he would throw it there on the grass, and everyone would be like, what is this? Is not working out.
Right.
He'd be like, I'm telling you something, in the next 20, 30 years, this is going to be like the new thing. This is going to be the new thing. And he would train the kids
Yeah.
on all of these things, non-weightlifting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And in my old computer, I still have pictures of it, of
Wow.
him working with them. And it's like 19, like you said, in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that was the same, same stuff that Al did. I mean, it was all speed training, explosive training. It had nothing to do with like doing, bench press and bicep curls. So it was it was all about, creating speed off the ground. And
Yeah.
he was just it was amazing to watch him train and be part of it, and see the Bulls go through the training at the time when they're starting to win world championships. It was pretty crazy. It was a very unique experience. So, but no, that's fantastic. And so so except for the, kind of, doing your little bit online lessons, what else do you have going on right now for yourself?
I've just been doing that and
Yeah.
spending more time with the family.
Yeah.
My boys now, they're 17 and 14.
Okay.
So we kind of hang out, and they're still the moody teens. They close the door on me and whatnot. But now more often they're coming out, and we're like wrestling and stuff. It's pretty cool. And,
Nice.
like people that know me know that I'm a Lego freak. I'm
Yeah.
a Lego Star Wars freak. So
Yeah, I love that.
we've been doing a lot of stuff together. Like they started suddenly doing some Lego little things here and there. I'm seeing them working on. So, we're having some fun. And basically what I'm just trying to do is just see what kind of foundation I can build online,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of platform I'm using. And like I said, when we're kind of like on the other side of this, how much of this is going to be a part of my business moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and like you said, it's just a major service, and it expands your reach. I mean, it's anywhere in the world now. It's just not giving the one-on-one golf lesson.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think a lot of us are starting to look at that as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, we all have to adjust, It's like if you adapt or die, as they
Yeah.
say. So you have to do that. How do you like I see you're using Swing Catalyst. Is there a reason why you like using that over V1 or Huddle?
Yeah,
Talk a little.
I just started using it literally this week.
Oh, okay.
And I had some issues for some reason, there was a problem with my laptop. The program wasn't uploading correctly, and so they had to go in there and do some stuff. And now that it's working fine, I'm just kind of learning how to use all the tools.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like it. I like the versatility of it. And it's just I'm trying to see. I've been using V1 for years, so
Right.
it's not that I'm like going, oh, I'm not trying to downplay that. It's just I want to see what options other programs give me,
Sure.
and if there's something that I would be using going forward. I mean, right now, I'm going to be moving forward as a Swing Catalyst brand ambassador anyway.
Okay.
So, right, this whole virus thing kind of like put a roadblock in everything going on. So we haven't worked it out where I'm getting my mat yet. So this is all just software related.
Okay.
So that's also part of it is that once I get things going with the balance plate and everything, that going to be incorporating the Swing Catalyst software, obviously. And so just streamlining everything. And
Yeah.
I'm still using V1, as I mentioned. Obviously, I've been using it for so long, so I'm very comfortable with using it.
Sure.
So I go back and forth. So I might do one swing analysis on the V1, and then I might do the next one on Swing Catalyst, just trying to learn it.
Did you meet with them at the PGA show this year, or did you just kind of reach out to them because of the situation?
I met them at the PGA show this year, and
Okay.
actually, this is something that's been in the works for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have been talking probably for about 2 years now, 2.5 years,
Okay.
about getting this all done. And when we were talking about it at that time, their 3D plate, I think, was just about to come out. So one of the things that we were discussing was, am I going to get the 3D plate, or am I just going to get a balance plate? And where I work, I don't have a permanent structure. So it turns out I'm just going to get the regular 2D balance plate.
Okay.
And go from there. And as we've been discussing earlier, I'm big into using the ground forces, how to use them for the golf swing. So it's definitely going to be something that's a major part of my toolkit.
So you don't have like a super station or like a garage facility. You're just outside full time?
Yeah, I'm outside, and in the wintertime, what I do is I take the snack bar building
Okay.
when we're closed, and I just convert it into an indoor studio,
Okay.
and I use that.
That's awesome, man. That's very cool. And that's like, and I guess in a way, being, New York, you have to adapt anyways because you
Yeah,
have a shortened season and or not, you have winter time to deal with as well. So you're almost used to it in a way of doing, lessons that aren't the normal, face-to-face deals. So
exactly.
yeah. So if you're, I know there's a couple of people that ask questions about
Yeah.
mentoring, and one gentleman I think was asking about junior golf lessons, and junior, how you approach. Why don't you, because you work with a ton of juniors, so why don't you approach how you work with juniors? Say somebody's coming to you for the first time, and you're just getting to know them, and why don't you take it and just explain your how you approach the lesson with a junior golfer.
Yeah, I think with juniors, there's so many more nuances than an adult. Like if an adult comes to you, they're an adult,
Right.
whether they're 25 or 55 or 95. Basically, they're coming to you as an adult, and then it's a matter of like how experienced are they? Are they a beginner? They've been playing for a few years, whatnot. With juniors, it's not just are they a beginner, intermediate, advanced. It's what age are they?
Right.
So if I have a young child, let's say under the age of 7 coming to me, how experienced are they? Are they coming to me as a beginner, total beginner? So if they're a beginner, now the issue is, did they come voluntarily?
Yeah.
Or are they forced to come?
Right.
So you have to be, as an instructor, very perceptive to that first 15, 20 seconds of meeting the child and seeing, are they here on their own volition, or is this like, being pushed into the car on their way here?
Right.
So how I greet them right off the bat is going to make a big difference. So I've had kids that are either, you could see they were hesitant being there, or they were just shy.
Right.
And so what I would do is I would just come out and be very kind of like, hey, are you Jess Frank? Are you the Jess? You know how long I've been waiting for you? Wait a minute. Hold on. Can I have your autograph? I mean, I've been waiting for this moment. And you
Oh
can see
my goodness.
The kids
Yeah.
are like,
Yeah.
who's this weird guy? Whoa, what's going on here? And so just trying to do that. And sometimes with younger children, I'll get down on my knees,
Right.
look at them, and there's going to be height jokes from my friends about like, you don't have to get down on your knees, but yeah, I get down on my knees, look at them, and I start talking to them. And when we're starting to move into the lesson, like, all right, let's get your feet like this, let's hold the club this way. Sometimes you can see them, they're kind of like,
Yeah.
and you may be actually like the 4th or 5th teacher they've gone to.
Mm-hmm.
And you can kind of sense that as the lesson's going on. And this is all, like I said, it's happening in the first 5 minutes. I might just sit down, cross my legs, and then what happens is I'm talking to them, and I'm like, okay, that's good. Here, come on, sit down next to me. So they'll sit down, they're like, what's going on? And they'll sit down next to me, and I'll just start talking to them like, you like chocolate? I like chocolate. I'm letting you right now, chocoholic. And I'll start like, I'm a chocoholic, and I like Legos. And I'll just start talking that way. And I was like, do you like Legos?
Yeah.
And like, or if they're a sports fan, like say you like baseball, who's your favorite team? Right.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what team it's like. If they're a Mets fan, I'll be like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Really? If they're a Yankees fan, what? Really?
Yeah.
Just having fun with them.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, they'll be like, yeah, why? What's wrong? And then next thing you're chipping away at the ice.
Right.
And then after that, it's like, okay, all right, let's start with that again. Let's get your feet like about shoulder width apart. You can see they pop right up and they get right into it.
Yes.
Right.
I can see why everyone loves you.
Yeah. So just stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's weird because like my explanation of all of this took longer than how long it would actually occur.
Sure.
And
yeah.
But you're doing stuff like that, and you're always encouraging them and telling them to hit the ball or like stuff and what part of the club it's in. You start really getting into all of that stuff.
Yes.
And I tell them, look, I'm not your math teacher. I'm not your school teacher.
Right.
I don't have a red pen. This is not your report card, and I'm not marking it up with red marks and calling your parents and saying, you know,
Right.
your son wasn't paying attention today or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So don't
Yeah.
worry about mistakes. Don't worry
Yeah.
about bad shots.
Yeah.
Hit as many bad shots as you can, because that's how you're going to learn from this.
Yeah, yeah, you know what? That's probably the best golf advice and just human advice that I think that anyone could ever, as a golf instructor or a sports instructor, follow, because that's what it's all about, making the child comfortable, and
Yeah.
and just kind of saying, hey, I'm your friend, don't worry about it. I'm not judging you. We're on this journey together. That's awesome, James.
And some of the older kids, well, I mean, even some of the 8-year-olds, the 10-year-olds,
Mm-hmm.
and even the older ones that now play a lot,
Yeah.
it's I give them a hard time about their bad shots.
Okay.
It's like if they hit a bad one, I'll be like, oh yeah, you're a pro. Yeah, you're number one on your high school team.
Yeah.
But the whole point is not to make them feel bad about it. It's quite
Right.
the opposite, because they stress out over it.
Sure.
More than we realize, right? There's a difference between golf and competitive golf. So they
Sure.
hit one bad shot, they're thinking the world is over.
Right.
It's ending. So by kind of being so sarcastic about it and joking around, they realize, and hopefully they carried on the golf course, that they can have a laugh about it. Like if they hit a bad shot in a tournament or in a match, they can be like, yeah, James would have really liked that one.
Yes,
And
exactly.
it's cool because I'll
Yeah.
get messages from them.
Mm-hmm.
And we all get messages from our students, and they'll be like, hey, I did really well today. I hit 15 out of 18 greens or something like that. I get the messages. They're like, James, you would have loved my tee shot on 12. Three
Yeah.
fairways over.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It just gives them
So
the ability to be okay with it.
and so that's cool. And I've joked around with some of the older kids where one of my dreams is to show up at one of these AJGA tournaments or something with
Right.
about 4 or 5 of them,
Yeah.
and actually just verbally abuse them in front of everybody. So every time they hit a bad shot, like, oh God, are you serious? Really?
Yeah.
I'm wasting my weekend here with you for that. And just, but they know, they'd
Yeah.
be laughing, they'd be
Right.
smiling.
Right.
We'd be on the golf course and they'd hit a weird shot, and I'd be like, oh yeah, great job. Okay, all right. You could just see all of the other kids and all the parents going, that
Yeah.
guy is just horrible.
Well, that's just the foundation you've built with them, and just it's your personality, and it's
Yeah.
it's why you're successful, and that's why that's awesome. And for any, I know there's a lot of golf instructors out there, to build that personal relationship with the kid, and recognize their wins and their losses. It's and just to keep it fun, and the sarcasm is always, but not a lot of people have that ability, James. So that's pretty cool. It's awesome, and that's one of the best pieces of advice I think I've ever heard. So I love it. I love it.
The funny thing is sometimes I could say something and they're not quite sure if I'm serious or not.
So,
It's like, that shot was horrible.
yeah.
Does he mean that, or?
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah. And I think that the needles come out, which are great. And I know that's like something that, when I spend time with Craig Harmon, and I'm sure Butch is pretty similar, but Craig is the same way. I mean, he's just, he's like, well, you really weren't supposed to hit a foot behind the ball in that drill. So, let's fix that. And, it just, and I always credit him for my marriage, because, I had taken I met him a few years ago, and I took my wife out there for a lesson, actually, she wasn't my wife yet. And he goes, what would make that little motion a little easier? You put some bling on that finger, and, and we'll, she'll hit it better. So, just having fun like that. And like I always tell people, we're not doing brain surgery. We're teaching golf and coaching golf and building relationships. So you got to keep it fun. So that's that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So I had another question in here. I know we talked a little bit about mentors before, but somebody was asking about what's the best way to go about getting a mentor in the golf industry, and what your suggestion would be.
Yeah, I think what is important about having a good mentor is you want someone that could that could give you the bad news that you're willing to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So mentors are not always there to be your cheerleading squad.
Right.
They're there to help you improve yourself. So you've got to choose someone who you really don't mind telling you, hey, James, that thing that you did, really, that was not good at all.
Right.
Like that video that you put out, you realize that none of that makes any sense.
Mm.
You realize that that actually is what leads to this issue, that issue, so that you can go back and look at it and go like, oh yeah, I see that.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being defensive about it and like, oh, why are you talking bad? I thought you were supposed to be my friend. That's not what you're always looking for. You're looking for someone that can be honest with you. Someone that you know will be there for you, that you can pick up the phone or send them a message, text them, email, whatever it is these days, and that they'll respond to you. They may not respond in 30 seconds, but they'll respond to you, and your best interests are always at heart.
Right.
Right. And I think also what's tough to find is someone that will be there for you until you are at the same level.
Right.
And now is that person still encouraging when you actually have made your own roads in this profession and may actually go. So let's say you have someone who doesn't work with tour players, for example, and is helping you become a better person, better teacher. And now all of a sudden in our business, we perceive it as like, oh, if you teach tour players, you must be really good. Now all of a sudden you're working with a tour player, and so the perception is this now. You're here and there. Do they still encourage you, or do they look at it as like, no, you're not supposed to be better than me?
Right.
Right? And so that's something, like I said, that's the same thing. Someone who will tell you when you need to right the ship for yourself, when you're not on the right road. Someone that will also pat you on the back saying, yes, you're doing a great job. Keep at it. Don't listen to what the naysayers are saying. You're doing the right thing. Right. And also is willing to help you improve yourself well beyond whatever your expectations are.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree, man. There's so many people now that don't give you the bad news, that need to, that aren't honest with you. But I found a few mentors out of the golf business that actually have helped me tremendously, personally and professionally. And these are people who shoot straight. They don't mess around. They're not sugarcoating anything. And sometimes you're like, oh, really? I did that, and I'm supposed to do that, and I haven't done that. And so no matter where you're at, it doesn't. You need to hear it sometimes. You need to hear the good with the bad. So I think that's something that's important. Not everybody gets a first place trophy or a ribbon.
And I remember like years ago, I would be saying, I would make some comment or something like that, or I would have a video, whatever, anything.
Right.
And then someone would send me a message, and they would basically critique it.
Mm-hmm.
And they would always say like, I hope you're not offended or something like that. And the thing that I tried to get across to people is, if you're critiquing me or you're criticizing me, I'm not offended.
Right.
It's not a personal attack. You see something and you're trying to see it as like, hey, you know what? Maybe. And it's one thing if someone goes like, you're an idiot.
Right.
You don't know what you're talking about. Right. That's a personal attack. The other side of it is, it's like, have you ever considered this? Well, I don't know if I agree with you. Have you thought about this or whatnot? That's a different story. But even the ones sometimes where I've seen that's stupid or you don't know what you're talking about, I will send them a private message and going, I'm not going to be like, oh, you idiot, you jerk.
Right.
Like, oh, what do you mean? Like, no, I'm not trying to pick a fight with you.
Yeah.
I just like, if there's a reason why you disagree with me, I just want to know what it is. And I'll tell you what, 99.9% of the time, that conversation turns out to be really educational.
Yeah.
And I just had a conversation like that about 2 weeks ago with someone, and we were yelling at each other on Facebook. And then I realized, wait a minute, I'm not following my own example here.
Right.
So I sent him a message, and literally 15, 20 minutes later, we're like, oh man, if you're ever in my area, let me know. I'll buy you a beer. We'll sit
Yeah,
down. You know, so
yeah.
sometimes, you know, we don't know what the tone is when we're typing.
Exactly. And that's the thing that drives me crazy about all these, golf Facebook groups and seeing the arguments. I'm like, you guys are typing behind a computer. Let's have a face-to-face conversation, and we could all probably learn from each other anyways. So what's the, I just, it's interesting, that's for sure. But no, you're right, 100%. Sometimes you learn the most. So a lot of people say they learn from their failures, they learn from
Yeah.
criticism, and but it takes a pretty, down to earth special person to be able to handle it too. You gotta be humble, and egos get in the way, and and sometimes, and that's I appreciate it too. Anybody who says that to me is the same thing. I'm like, okay, let me really take this guy's point or this girl's point of perspective and point of view, and let me see what, maybe there is something I can improve on or say
Yeah.
differently. And it's interesting because I even my so I did an interview with this lady who was doing with local businesses here in Boca, and so I and my father's told me the same thing. So my father-in-law listened to the interview, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's a great interview, but you have to stop saying all the time. Stop saying And it's so funny. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I'm listening to my dad and my father-in-law tell me the same thing. So, but at least, but that's how you learn. You don't learn from everybody telling you it's great all the time. So,
It's yeah, it's definitely the case.
yeah. Well, James, no, man, I really appreciate your time, and it's great. I talking virtually. I'd rather be at the PGA show with you, getting a beer, or, hitting balls or something. But for sure, when this thing passes, we'll definitely hook up somehow. And the amount of information and gold nuggets you put out there on this Instagram live feed is pretty special. And thank you for sharing. And hopefully, like I said, we all get through this fast.
Yeah, hopefully some of the things that I put out there helps some people.
Yeah.
And, like you said, yeah, just get through this and let's see what happens on the other side.
Yeah, man. Well, you take care, and take care of your family and stay safe, and and definitely we'll all get through this together, and keep doing what you're doing. And again, thank you so much for your time, and we'll be in touch, sir.
Same to all of you. All of you be safe and healthy.
All right, James. Have a great one.
You too.
Take care. Bye bye.